Okay. All right, let's start this. So, Miss E, this teaching session will have to do, as you can see, with some heart disease. And the reason I have chosen that teaching topic is because after I have reviewed your history, high blood pressure, you do take medication for your high blood pressure, correct?
Yes.
And you take it every day, right?
Yes.
I do understand you're on hydrochlorothiazide.
Yes.
Yeah. So based on that, I figure it would be great just to get some information as of how to prevent heart disease. Okay.
Thank you.
Yours is good because you have high blood pressure, but you're controlling it with medications. I came up with this little flyer, and I will leave this for you. And basically, it is preventing heart disease. Okay. If you think about the heart disease, there's multiple different kinds of heart problems that one can have. One of them being high blood pressure. Normally, for a high blood pressure, you go to a doctor's office, and they will take your blood pressure in both arms 5 minutes apart, and that's how they diagnose you. Yeah. So the other problems would be coronary artery disease. Basically, what it is it's also called atherosclerosis, and it's when the vessels of your heart get hardened, and then as they get hardened, the lumen gets narrower and narrower, and so it's harder and harder for the blood to flow through. And then is when sometimes people do end up with a heart attack, because when the lumen gets completely occluded, there's no more blood flow. And I think here you can see that there is this blood clot. This is your artery, your plumbing system. When this gets blocked completely, then it's when you have a heart attack. Okay?
Yes.
And now, signs and symptoms for heart attack, do you know what they are?
No.
Okay. Normally, people complain about chest pain, heaviness of chest pain. Then people complain that they can't breathe, they're short of breath. And then the other thing is they get nauseous. And sometimes they can also get lightheaded. And some people also do complain about breaking in cold sweats. So then is when you might know that you may want to activate 911 immediately. Because the sooner the better, because this can be reversible.
Cold sweat and?
Cold sweat, chest pains, and that sometimes the chest pain, the chest heaviness can also travel to your left arm or your right arm as well. So, and then the sensation that you can't catch your breath. It's just too heavy. So then is when you know that perhaps a heart attack is something that you might think about. And as I was saying is, if you activate 911, it's very reversible these days. They take you to the cardiac cath lab, and basically what they do is they puncture a little your artery in your radial, in your arm, or in your groin. They guide it towards your heart. They see if there's any blockages in there, and if there is, they kind of deploy the stent. A stent is basically a metal mesh like that keeps the lumen open, and they leave it in there, and then the problem is fixed. So as long as you have blood flow and oxygen, the heart will be just fine. But if the clot stays there, then that part of the heart muscle starts dying. And sometimes it's, if you wait too long, then it's not, the outcome is not good. So other heart conditions are atrial fibrillation. I don't know if you heard of it. Frank had it. Okay, so normally with atrial fibrillation is your heart doesn't beat regularly, right? So you're familiar with that. And the major concern, I think, with atrial fibrillation is blood clot formation. So oftentimes you are put on blood thinners so you don't make a blood clot, right? Because sometimes the blood just kind of sits in the quivers because in the heart chamber, and then it tends to be a danger for making blood clot. Heart failure, another thing with hearts is there's something that's called heart failure. And with heart failure, basically your heart muscle gets weakened. So the heart doesn't get pumped with the same strength that it did before. So they measure it in something that's called ejection fraction. It's called the EF. It should be between 55 and 70 normal. If it's lower than that, if your EF is like 30s or 40s, you may not be pumping enough. What do you do for that? Oftentimes the cardiologist will take care of it. Medication management will be the way to go. And then with that, oftentimes people get swelling. They can't breathe because they have fluid overload. And so diet becomes important, low salt and low fats and especially low salt.
So,
Yep. So in order to prevent all this, exercises, all kinds of exercises and diet. And I think we have talked about it before.
Swimming.
So that should cover for the teaching part. And I will leave you with flyers
Okay.
about how to prevent falls and the types of exercises. And I also printed my plate to see which kind of foods is to be eaten. All right?
All right.
Thank you, Eva, for your
Miss Eva.
time. Oh, I didn't say your name. I said Miss E. Thank you for your time. All right.